You already know what time it is. Yo, what is up, NBA and basketball fans? Yo, it is the best time of the year. It is time for the NBA playoffs. And a lot of you have been requesting this video. So here it goes, my first round predictions of the 2016 NBA playoffs. We're gonna start with the Eastern Conference and then go to the West. First matchup in the Eastern Conference, 1-8, is the Cleveland Cavaliers versus my very own, I'm proud to say, Detroit Pistons. Why'd I flash this like this was a Pistons, like this is a LeBron shirt? Why am I wearing, I can't even wear this shirt anymore. I gotta take this off. Let's try that again. My Detroit Pistons versus the Cleveland Cavaliers. All right, so the Pistons won the season series 3-1. I'm not even gonna dive into what happened during the regular season because regular season doesn't really matter. But that being said, I do believe that the Pistons have a good matchup against the Cleveland Cavaliers. This does not mean I am predicting the Pistons to win. And that's only because of how young the Pistons are and how little playoff experience they have. Reggie Jackson, Aaron Baines, Joel Anthony, and Steve Blake are the only players on the Pistons with some actual playtime during the NBA playoffs. That's gonna be a huge part. But that being said, Andre Drummond and Reggie Jackson have been dominant, absolutely destroyed the Cavaliers during the regular season. With Kevin Love being one of the worst pick and roll defenders in the entire NBA, I think that the Pistons should look to switch him onto Reggie Jackson as much as possible and abuse the crap out of the pick and roll with Reggie Jackson and Andre Drummond, because that is one of the best pick and rolls in the entire NBA. However, the Cavaliers do have playoff LeBron James on their side, and that is scary. I said it in many videos, there is playoff LeBron and regular season LeBron. How do you stop playoff series LeBron James? You don't. The Pistons have to worry about containing every single other player on the Cleveland Cavaliers and just hope that LeBron James isn't too much for them by himself. Playoff LeBron James by himself, because he had to be by himself, was almost too much for the Warriors last year in the 2015 NBA Finals. Also, I hate to say this, but if the Pistons do steal a game or are threatening the Cavaliers enough to where the Cavs like, if we don't do something, you know, we about to lose, I could see the Cavaliers going to the Atlanta style hack-a-dre where they start following him like in the first quarter and keep him out of the game forever. I will be so ticked off if I see that, Cleveland. If I see some hack-a-dre cheese like that, do you know how mad I will be? That being said, I do see the Pistons stealing at least one, if not two games from the Cavaliers, but overall, I'm going Cavs in 6. Sadly. Next up, you got the Toronto Raptors versus the Indiana Pacers. The Toronto Raptors won this season series 3-1. But this series all depends on if Toronto actually shows up in the playoffs. If Toronto plays the same basketball that they played during the regular season in the playoffs, or even better, then they will win this series. If they play like they played in the playoffs last year, there is a serious problem in the 6. However, I just don't see that happening, yo. I do not see them losing in the first round again. They have matured a lot. I have seen it through the regular season. This isn't the same Toronto Raptors team. They're playing with a bit of a chip on their shoulder, a bit of an edge, like they have something to prove, which they do. However, for the Indiana Pacers, you always have to be aware of Paul George. Paul George is a monster. He has proven already that he is capable of playing on the biggest stage. And they also still have Monte Ellis. While he did not have the greatest regular season, he is still a scorer and he can score as well as any other player in the NBA on any given night. But that being said, I do not see the Toronto Raptors losing in the first round again. I see the Toronto Raptors taking the series in the 6. Next up is probably gonna be the closest series in the entire first round. You got the Boston Celtics versus the Atlanta Hawks. If you had to bet on a series to go to 7 games, and probably even a couple of overtime games, I would bet right here. Yo, the Boston Celtics versus the Atlanta Hawks. One thing that Boston really has in its favor, is the Atlanta Hawks are an absolutely awful rebounding team. And the Boston Celtics are one of the best rebounding teams. But the Atlanta Hawks are one of the best defensive teams in the league. But while Boston is one of the best offensive teams in the league, the Atlanta Hawks are also an average offensive team, while the Boston Celtics are an average defensive team. They kind of like, you know, they're basically the same, you know what I'm saying? They both play a team style of basketball, all right? A lot of distributed scoring, while Isaiah Thomas, of course, is capable of setting flames to the court by himself, you know, so I don't know. This is actually a coin flip. The series is actually gonna be a coin flip, like no joke. All right, so heads Atlanta, tails Boston. The coin has spoken. Boston in 7. Last but not least, you got the Miami Heat versus Charlotte Hornets. This, once again, is gonna be another great series in the East. Every single series in the East is gonna be a really fun one to watch, unlike the West, but we'll get to that later. I feel Miami drew the short stick in this one because I feel out of the teams that they could have played, the one they wouldn't want to play the most would be the Charlotte Hornets, just because of how well the Charlotte Hornets match up with the Miami Heat. Kemba Walker, who is absolutely pure flames, that's all there is to it, pure flames. Jerry Milan, a candidate for 6th Man of the Year. Of course they have Big Al, and then they have someone who doesn't get talked about enough and who is definitely one of the most underrated players in the NBA, Nick Batum. Nick Batum can do everything. He is, honestly, if you ask me, he is the key to the Charlotte Hornets team. Score, rebound, assist, great defender, is just everything to the Charlotte Hornets. And on the other hand, you got the Miami Heat with the greatness that is Dwayne Wade, the Flash himself, the 3-time NBA champion. Never discount the power of being an NBA champion in the NBA playoffs because they know how to get it done. And they also have Mr. Hassan Whiteside himself, Joe Johnson, Goran Dragic, who while he started off the season absolutely terrible, I mean absolutely awful, to the point where Mario Chalmers might have been a better point guard in the beginning of the season before they traded him than Goran Dragic. But every month since then, he has gotten better and better and better and better and better, till now where he's playing like an all-star. This is gonna be another close series. I don't feel it's going to 7 games. I do not think the series is going to 7 games. I'm gonna say Miami wins it in 6. However, while it may not go to 7 games, every single game will be a bloodbath fight type thing game, if that makes sense. Now moving on to the West, where there isn't really much to talk about. First up, you got the Warriors versus the Rockets. Obviously, the Warriors won the season series 4-0, and the Rockets barely snuck into the playoffs after being the biggest disappointment in the entire NBA this year. The Rockets are a classic Dr. Jekyll, Mr. Hyde team. Some games, they do look like a really good team, and in other games, they make Philly look like NBA contenders. In order for Houston to have a microscopic percent of a chance here, they're gonna need James Harden to play outside of his freaking mind. Yo, he's gonna have to average like 35 points and near a triple-double every single game. I'm not quite sure what's going on in Houston. I know that James Harden and Dwight Howard aren't getting along, and that's gonna cause some locker room problems, which is gonna tear the team in half, or 5s, or 17s, or whatever, however many pieces Houston Rockets are in right now, because I was looking forward to the Houston Rockets being a great team this year, and they let me down. I'm gonna have to say the Warriors in 4, maybe 5 if James Harden can cash in at least one of those beastly games. Next up, you got the Spurs Grizzlies. Spurs won the season series 4-0, and they will win this series 4-0. Look, even with Marc Gasol and Mike Conley, the Spurs are the Grizzlies' worst nightmare. The Grizzlies are a terrific defensive team that struggles offensively, which those types of teams do not stand a chance against the San Antonio Spurs, because the Spurs are one of the best offensive teams that you really can't defend because of their great ball movement. I mean, there's no defense for the San Antonio Spurs. And while they are also one of the best defensive teams in the NBA, also there is no Marc Gasol, no Mike Conley, so realistically there is no chance, for the Memphis Grizzlies. All the injuries is just in a terrible matchup, so it is what it is. Next up, you got the Thunder versus Mavericks. Alright, once again, the Thunder won the season series 4-0, and they will win this series 4-0. Let's be real here. Dirk Nowitzki, one of the all-time best players in the entire history of the NBA. Nothing but respect for Dirk Nowitzki, and he has still been a really, really good player this year, even though he's way up there in age. So, he's found the fountain of youth like many of the San Antonio Spurs players. They have been surging in the past couple of weeks, led by JJ Barea. But the Mavericks just don't have what it takes to stop Russell Westbrook and Kevin Durant. I predict Russell Westbrook will average probably a triple-double this series. Kevin Durant will probably average over 30 points. And it's just gonna be, a pretty easy series for the Thunder. And last but not least, you got the Clippers versus the Blazers. Now, of all the series in the West, I feel like this will be the most fun to watch. However, I'm seeing the Clippers winning this in 5 games. The Blazers do have what it takes to make this an interesting series at least. They are one of the best offensive teams, led by Damian Lillard and CJ McCollum, and also one of the best rebounding teams in the entire NBA. While despite having DeAndre Jordan, the Los Angeles Clippers are one of the worst rebounding teams in the entire NBA. So that is some cause for problems for the Los Angeles Clippers. However, overall, I do not see the Portland Trail Blazers being so young, so raw, and just not a complete team yet, alright? Damian Lillard, CJ McCollum, and Terry Stotts has been doing an absolutely phenomenal job as a coach. They have an extremely bright future, but this is just not their time. I do not see them getting past the experience of the Los Angeles Clippers in the playoffs, alright? So there you guys have it. Those are my predictions. Leave your predictions down in the comment section below. Thank you for taking the time out of your day to watch this video. I am definitely looking forward to watching the NBA playoffs. I can't see the Pistons are back in the playoffs. I'm just so happy about that. But until next time, remember to keep getting the buckets, Team SDC, and I'm gonna catch you guys later. Peace. Every week, you guys submit your comments and video suggestions down in the comment section below. And today I will be taking some of those suggestions and comments and compiling them all into this video. So suggestion number 1 comes from iThieve. Make a video about the top 5 worst picks in the NBA. If you do, don't forget to give me a shout out.